So, when you think of depictions of romance in popular media, what kind of characters do you automatically think of, just in general?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is like a heterosexual white couple. That's the most things that we have seen like growing up.
Like I immediately think of like Brad Pitt or like the Mrs. and Mrs. Smith movie, like stuff like that.
Cinderella, like that type of romance.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I think there is a undertone of like when they show it, it's to be monogamous and it's a successful relationship. It's disarming, and there's usually one specific person that's the female role and one person that is the male role.
Right.
So it definitely has that hinge of heteronormative. Yeah, for sure.
Like those rom-coms with like Sarah Jessica Parker and Kate Hudson and all those ones, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like very
like white women with blonde hair chasing after a white dude. Yeah.
Do you feel that growing up you observed representations of characters similar to you in prominent media?
No, not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Not at all.
Like, no, I often tell people that I probably would have realized that I was gay a lot younger if I would have seen things like that in the media. Anything, it was like, if like a show was trying to be diverse and they would have like, the one black kid, mostly white people, the Asian kid, and like maybe a gay guy. It was for a lesbian,
No, not that. There's more now, but when I was growing up, there wasn't. I didn't feel that there were many. There was like Will and Grace, I think, was on when I was young.
Love that show.
But that's kind of like the only thing I can think of until I think maybe in like the year 2000, there was a show on Showtime or HBO called Queer as Folk, and it was just a whole cast of gay people, and I'd never seen that before. So when I was growing up, there was nothing like that.
When you watched that show, was that like, oh my God?
It was a huge deal. And I was only 13. So, and I didn't come out of the closet till I was 15. So I would watch it on the low and be like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, what is this world that I know nothing about? Like it was like a secret.
Growing up, were there any examples of a romance in prominent media that you particularly identified with? Why or why not?
No.
But the one thing that sticks out in my mind is Christina Aguilera had that music video for the song Beautiful, and those two guys are kissing on the bench. That's literally the one and only depiction that I think I could relate to at that time.
Otherwise, like it was like straight people's depiction of what a gay relationship would be. So like even like Robin Williams, or like when he would imitate gay people or drag people, or kind of like what he thought gay people looked like that was very prominent, or Queen or other things like that were very mainstream media
Depictions.
Right.
For me, I feel like I always like identified more with like the more masculine, like the men of like those movies or whatever. But if anything, for me, I feel like it just made it more confusing, because it's like I don't like identify as a man, like I identify as a woman. So like it was like just more confusing than rather just having like maybe like someone who was similar to me on like TV or on like the media or a movie, then I could identify with them like equally, not like as a man, basically.
I just remember it was a big deal because, when I was growing up, gay people couldn't get married. It was still very much like, if you're gay, your life's going to be harder and you're going to die from HIV. And there was like a whole, our parents were very traumatized from that experience, let alone more so the LGBT community, obviously, but like the parents kind of leading the unknown LGBT populace at the time. I just had this very huge sense of like, I don't want my kid to be beaten up or experience bullying when life's hard enough. So it was very much like, I wish you weren't this way because your life would be easier.
So do you think that in the past decade, there's been more of an effort made to represent more diverse characters in prominent media? If so, how do you feel about these representations?
So yes, I do feel there's been more of an effort. Um, I think that some of them seem genuine and some of them seem forced.
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like it almost, I feel like a couple years ago was like a good jumping off point, and now it's like everywhere.
Mhm.
Like in like
The Kristen Stewart movie, Christmas movie.
yeah, the with Kristen Stewart that
I was thinking of that one.
The
and, like-
gay guy in that one show that you like to watch. It's like a series. The
Shit
gay,
Creek?
yeah,
Yeah.
Creek.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he's in that movie. I know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
he's also in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the movie, I can't think of it now, with Kristen Stewart. I think that one was like a little, that was kind of cool because that movie was supposed to be released in theaters, not just like Netflix movie, but because of the pandemic it wasn't. But like that was gonna be a pretty big deal that there's like a lesbian movie,
Like a feature film.
right, and not just like a Hallmark movie or something like that. Like it was gonna be in the theaters.
Mhm.
You know? And now I think you're seeing like this just like pop up a lot
The
more.
only weird thing with it though still is that it's always like, oh, my gay daughter or my gay son's coming home for Christmas. And
Yeah.
then it's not like it's just like, oh, we're watching a Christmas movie and they just so happen to be like lesbian or gay. So it's still not like normalized. It's still like kind of like, you know, like, oh, it's a LGBTQ movie because there's a lot of like gay stuff that's incorporated in it that's like, you know, it's like just make it be the movie. It doesn't have to be about being gay.
I definitely think it has been moving towards an area that is more equal to more representation. I think it's what's really interesting too is I want to say the first notion is to be jealous of the next generation, like that they as a kid can even see two males adopting a baby and having a success story, because all the stories I heard were tragedies, like growing up and your cousin was gay and they died. Like it was like all very much like I had an uncle who was married and then left his wife at 70. You know what I mean? Or just like, and I feel so bad for the kids. It was never like, wow, he had to live his life in shame and hide it from everyone. It was always like he did that to his wife, and it's like,
oh, for sure, for sure.
well, yeah, like you guys, yeah. So there's, or like poor kids, they couldn't even, you know, keep the marriage together, like type situation. So it's just really strange. But I do think, you know, as our generation dealt with tolerance, the next generation is dealing with acceptance. And so there is a transition to have more, you know, even just like effeminate gay people, straight acting gay people. I think for a long time, it was just like, can you pass as not gay?
Do you feel that common depictions of LGBTQ plus romances in popular media have had a positive impact on societal perceptions of the LGBTQ plus community? Or do you feel that these depictions have perpetuated commonly held stereotypes?
I do get worried about that sometimes when I like am watching something, and like, I mean, if anything like happens bad to like gay people on like TV, I'm like, oh no, like I can just like hear my parents like saying things in their head, or like thinking like, well, I told you so, or oh, that's the gays or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it overall is like a good thing. And I think at first you might have that response with like the general public or people that are going to take some time to come around to it. But like they have to be depicted in that way too, because that's normal,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I think it just has to like be around for a while so that people just get used to it.
Okay. Yeah. So the actual romances themselves, between gay characters in the media and TV shows and stuff, I think do oftentimes perpetuate stereotypes like really heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been a deciding factor of if I'm going to watch a certain show that has like a gay couple. Like, are they here for a reason? Like, are they just playing like, stereotypes or all the gay typical tropes, or is this actually just like a fully fleshed out character that they wrote that just happens to be gay?
Mhm.
Which is so much more important, I think, for a younger gay person to like relate to, because that's a fully fleshed out person, not just one aspect of a personality.
I think that's a very hard question actually, because it's kind of like, is it the chicken or the egg? It's like,
Yeah.
is something boxed in and then it's just an example of it? So it's like, is it a negative depiction because it's perpetuating a negative stereotype, or did that person feel stereotyped and that is the actual life they lived?
If you were to see an ideal depiction of an LGBTQ plus romance in media, what would that look like to you?
It to me, it would kind of not stand out. It would just kind of be just a comfortable piece of the puzzle in the storyline, but it should just be as normal and uneventful as everyone else's relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like what we touched on before. I feel like it'd just be like you would just start like a Christmas movie and it would just be like a normal Christmas movie with like a gay couple somewhere sprinkled in there, or
Right. It wouldn't.
a
they
trans
wouldn't-
person just sprinkled in there, but like the movie isn't centered around that. And there's not like the issues of like, I'm like, it's just a normal happy family, but they're just in there.
Hmm.
As no one's ever like on a Christmas movie that's had focuses on like a heterosexual couple. No one's like, oh, the straight couple's coming home for Christmas. Like they don't label it like that. It's
Yeah.
just like that's what's normal. So they don't.
Mhm.
So to see like gay couples looking like just normal, or anyone that's in the queer community looking like it was normal, not having to label that.
I think having a successful, positive, job, family outcome where everyone is generally happy and like not having this undercurrent of subsidiary lying and living in the darkness and, oh, I'm so happy, but I'm cheating on my husband, or, oh, I'm so happy, but like XYZ. You know what I mean? Like there's always this like shadow side to a story always, because people have that nature. So I feel like it's always over dramatized. So I think ideally it would unfortunately be a fantasy type. Everything goes well, and then it'd be great to see that.
As of now, is there an example of an LGBTQ plus relationship you've observed in popular media that adequately portrays an authentic LGBTQ plus relationship? Might not be perfect, but it's like, okay, yeah, we're getting somewhere.
Like fictional or real people?
Fictional.
I mean, I guess going off what I was just talking about, like on the L Word,
Mm.
like that show a lot because it doesn't seem like
they have normal jobs. They're like normal functioning people in society.
Honestly, the only one I can think of is recently, which is Eternals. The Marvel film had an African American homosexual guy that like had a family and left his adopted kid, and they all seemed extremely happy. That's really the only one.
I'm sure there has been. I'm sure there's been at least one. Hold on a second.
In the future, what steps should be taken by production companies to ensure that depictions of LGBTQ plus romances are executed more effectively and fairly?
Easy. Have actual people who are gay. Like hire them or interview them to ask their opinion, or maybe have them watch it and be like, is this legit or not? Like, you know,
Well, like gay people should play gay people, trans people should play trans people, hire those people, hire queer people.
Queer writers.
Yeah, all of that. Do not hire like straight white men to write about
Depiction
like
about a lesbian woman.
romances.
Right.
And I think that's so important too, because like, I'm not even trying to like throw all white men under the bus for being the directors and the writers. It's just, we need different perspectives written and directed. And I mean, I wouldn't consider myself qualified to write someone's Black experience or
Right.
someone's lesbian experience. So like, I don't think you're qualified to tell mine.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
So that's, I think, where we need especially more representation is in like the higher up positions,
Yeah.
like the directors and the writers and the producers, because then they can tell those stories and hire the cast and hire whoever is below that, and it can be portrayed in a genuine and authentic way.
I think the best route is just showing compassion, showing acceptance, and, you know, kind of observing someone's timeline and like their acceptance and what it's done and how it shapes the community and how it shapes, you know, interaction.